Thank you. When I state your jurisdiction, if you'll please state your name. San Mateo County.
Dave Pine.
San Mateo County. Atherton.
Rick DeGolia.
Belmont.
Julia Mates.
Brisbane.
Colleen Mackin.
Burlingame.
Donna Colson.
Colma. Daly City. East Palo Alto.
Carlos Romero.
Foster City. Half Moon Bay.
Harvey Ryback.
Hillsborough. Los Banos.
Tom Faria.
Menlo Park.
Betsy Nash.
Millbrae.
Supposed to be going on
Pacifica.
Tiger Jazz Twirls Big Stick.
Thank you. Portola Valley.
Jeff Elfs.
Redwood City.
Giselle Hale.
San Bruno. Hi. Thank you. San Carlos.
John Dugan here.
San Mateo.
Rick Bonilla.
South San Francisco. Woodside.
And Wall.
Director Emeritus.
Pradeep Gupta.
Director Emeritus.
John Keener.
Thank you. And we have a quorum.
And
And
I think tonight's Zoom award goes to Tom Faria for the al fresco meeting.
It is 81 degrees here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, it's about the same. It's about the same where I am, Tom, but I'm 4 hours to the east of you, 4 time zones to the east
oh,
of you.
wow.
Yeah.
Way out there.
So, and my internet, I'm in Puerto Rico. My internet is really bad. If I cut out, Donna will take over.
All right.
Chair DeGolia, real quick, I noticed on the list that Patrick Sullivan is here. I believe he's the alternate for Foster City. Patrick,
Okay.
I don't believe your microphone is on. So if you are here, if you could please get your microphone working, and then we would need to swear him in. He is new this year. Thank you.
And Patrick, are you able to connect? I don't hear you, but if you're able to connect, Patrick, let us know when you're connected, and Jennifer will be able to swear you in. Okay, so the first item is public comment. Do we have any public comment? If anyone has public comment that is on the call, you can click the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and indicate by raising your hand that you have public comment, and your comment will be welcome. And I don't see anyone with their hand raised, so I'm going to assume that there's no public comment. If I could get them, oh, now I have public comment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 3 public comments. First from Ryan Pickering. Are you able to unmute yourself, Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Rick. My name is Ryan Pickering. I'm a solar power developer in the Bay Area. I've been working in rooftop solar for the last 12 years in the Bay Area, mostly for SunPower Corporation. And I want to thank you folks for your continued support as we roll out this technology. I studied at Stanford University and studied the 100% renewable energy plan from Mark Z. Jacobson, a professor at Stanford University. And, you know, from my research after the last 12 years, I have learned that 100% renewable energy is possible, and it will require a 600% overbuild to our demand because of the intermittency of wind and solar and water, energy storage, et cetera. So 100% renewable energy is possible. It will require an overbuild. I think I say overbuild because I don't think that that's necessary. We have another clean energy source in California that we don't like to talk about that makes up 20% of our grid here in Northern California, and that's nuclear fission energy from Diablo Canyon power plant. And I used to be anti-nuclear growing up. Even at Stanford, they told me that nuclear was too risky and not needed in the future because we could do it all with renewable energy. But I've after reading the book Shorting the Grid by Meredith Angwin, which was released last year, I changed my mind on the need for nuclear energy and baseload turbine power sources. And I just wanted to call in this evening to share my experience as a solar installer who is now also favoring a hybrid partnership with nuclear energy instead of natural gas. Natural gas, also known as methane, is a fast-acting fossil that powers 50% of California. And and that's because renewables do need a baseload, and natural gas has been a great fit. And natural gas has actually been able to help us lower our emissions dramatically. And today, California has the cleanest RTO in the United States because of our huge investment in renewables and natural gas. I think we should take it one step further and partner with nuclear energy so that we can keep our energy costs low for those who can't afford solar panels or live in apartments, or and also so that we don't have to overbuild renewable energy and build millions of solar panels in this beautiful state and billions of batteries that we'll have to replace over and over again forever. As a 34-year-old and as a student of clean energy, I want to bring our attention to nuclear energy because we won't have to overbuild. So thank you for letting me share my thoughts, and please use your influence to tell PG&E to keep Diablo Canyon power plant open, either their operations or sell it to a viable buyer. Thank you for your time.
Hello.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you for your comment, Ryan. We really appreciate it. Jeremy, you're up next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Turnkey, and I am a future candidate for San Bruno City Council. I sent a letter to the alternate director from San Bruno. His name is Marty Medina, and it basically captures my personal viewpoint that the current state climate goals of 2045 are completely irrelevant to the urgent nature of the catastrophic dangers currently facing this generation. And if we would like the CCAs to be cathartic choice aggregates, which do not actually do anything other than make people feel good that they are a part of something pushing this community towards a half-measured approach, that's great, but I think that we must take a far more aggressive stance. And I would actually like to commend everybody that serves in Peninsula Clean Energy. The work that you guys do is tremendous, but it really is not enough. And I don't know if it meshes with your mission to provide 100% renewable energy to the residents of this peninsula. But I think we, just like the last speaker said, we need 300, if not 400% of the need of this peninsula's residents to provide clean energy to the entire state, because currently there is no strategy that will be sufficient. And when you look at the IPCC and international leadership completely lacking, you have countries like India saying that we're going to phase down coal. So my plea is that to any leaders that are a part of this community choice aggregate, I would like to meet you, I would like to thank you, and I would like to work with you, because what we are providing the residents of Peninsula Clean Energy, the state of California, and the citizens, the the people around the globe is insufficient. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. The next public comment that I have is from Brendan.
Hi there, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, good evening. My name is Brendan Pittman. I'm an advocate for clean energy that is affordable, ultra reliable, carbon-free, and resource efficient, characteristics I think many of you also share. We are living in a time where electricity prices in California, and in particular in the Bay Area, are through the roof. According to the data from US Bureau of Labor Statistics, in February of 2022, the average cost for electricity in the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward area was 27.9 cents per kilowatt hour. For the same month, the average cost for electricity in the United States outside of California was 14.8 cents per kilowatt hour. This amounts to Bay Area ratepayers paying nearly 89% more for the cost of electricity than those anywhere else in the US. At a time where the cost of electricity is so high and only likely to get higher, having as many clean and affordable energy sources options available is imperative. In November of 2022, this board had the opportunity to accept nuclear carbon-free attributes for the 2021-2023 period, an opportunity that had the potential to save ratepayers $10 million over the course of 3 years, or allow the board to provide up to $10 million for other uses. The board ultimately rejected that proposal based on, among other things, an extremely limited survey of ratepayers in the service area, and then recommendations from a citizens advisory committee. While I have issues with how that survey was executed, such as how representative sampling was conducted and some biased language, I commend this board's effort for seeking public comment to advise in the decision-making process. Ultimately, however, the aforementioned opportunity was rejected when the board voted 11-9 to accept hydro credits, but not credits from nuclear. Peninsula Clean Energy now has 2 choices for its ratepayers, Eco Plus and Eco 100. At around the same time, San Jose Clean Energy, SJCE, approved a similar proposal to accept those nuclear power allocation credits. As of today, SJCE now has 4 choices for its ratepayers. 3 of these, Green Value, Green Source, and SJ Cares, include nuclear power in its power content label, and the other, Total Green, does not. Total Green is very similar to your Eco 100 program, and that it includes only 100% so-called renewable energy. For a typical Green Value ratepayer using 465 kilowatt hours per month under the ETOUC plan, the monthly electricity generation cost is $61. Under that same condition, the total cost for a Total Green ratepayer is nearly $72. I emphasize this point because SJCE ratepayers have a choice. Their board has provided them choices to opt for lower electricity costs by choosing a plan that includes nuclear power in its content label, or to pay a higher premium for a different service. Peninsula Clean Energy ratepayers don't have that choice. And just to wrap it up, in November 2020, Peninsula Clean Energy had the opportunity to provide this additional choice to ratepayers like SJCE, but instead several of the board members who voted against this opportunity, as I understand, voted against it in order to avoid negative stereotypes, prevent ratepayers from contacting public officials, or for ratepayers seeking a new power company, which is kind of interesting. I understand the complexities behind nuclear power, and I know it's been a battle against 60 years of entrenched fear and misinformation. I believe this board has the courage to stand up to that disinformation and provide its ratepayers with a thorough and honest account of nuclear power in California. Diablo Canyon Power Plant is the pride of California's electricity generating fleet, and the residents in that area agree by a factor of 20-1. I believe this board has the responsibility to provide ratepayers a choice that includes 100% clean, reliable nuclear power, one that would provide considerable cost savings. I urge this board to consider these points when an opportunity like this in the future is presented. Thank you for your time, and that concludes my statement.
Okay, thank you, Brendan.
Sorry, I ran over.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, I don't see any other public comment. I'd like to entertain a motion to set the agenda and to approve the consent items unless someone has a comment on any of the consent items.
Chair DeGolia, can we
Yes.
Do that swearing in real quick? Please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Patrick, are you on the line now?
Yeah, no, I'm on the phone line. For some reason, the audio is not connecting on the Zoom. So I'm on my
Okay.
phone audio and I've got the Zoom going.
Great. We can hear you. Jennifer, are you able to do the swearing in?
Absolutely. Patrick, I'm going to go ahead and read you some lines and have you repeat after me. You can raise your right hand on your own, since I don't think we can see you.
Okay.
But I, Patrick Sullivan, do solemnly swear
I, Patrick Sullivan, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, domestic and foreign.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
That I will bear true allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will take this obligation freely
That I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental or purpose of reservation.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge
That I will and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties which I'm about to endure.
Thank you. That's it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then we do have a document for you to sign that Nellie will send over.
Okay, great.
Great. Thank you, Patrick.
You got it.
Okay, so does anyone have any comment on the consent items?
Chair DeGolia, Colleen Mack in Brisbane. I have some comments to make on the consent agenda item number 3.
Okay. Item number 3, yes, this is the contract with Aqueous. Is that something, would you like to pull it from the consent, or do you just want to make a comment?
I have 2 comments. It doesn't affect my vote, but I just have 2 comments to make.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and make those now?
Okay, first one, it mentions in the report that on a biannual basis that we may need to meet regarding their data security processes and policies. And it notes this is to ensure adequacy in protecting customer data. I want to make sure that we are actually following up on that. I think that's our responsibility, and we have a duty to make sure that's actually happening. And likewise, there's another item about no third-party beneficiaries. And it says that the agreements entered into for the sole and exclusive benefit of the parties shall not be interpreted in such manner as to give rise to or create any justiciable interest, rights, benefits, profits, or any other gains for other persons, entities, or agencies. I bring this up because everyone's personal information, it's a hot topic anyway, and I would like to make sure that we're protecting the integrity of our customers' personal information. I know they have to use data about our customers' usage, but I think we need to find out if our data is then being sold to third parties. That's all I have. Thank you.
And through the chair, I'd be happy to respond to Director Mackin's questions.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. Raphael, go ahead and respond.
Yeah, thank you for raising these questions. Number one, we do meet regularly and review the security policies with our consulting firm, IQUIS, and they have, and we are implementing a number of measures. They've already secured certifications with regards to data security that are the highest industry standard certifications, and we are also encrypting the data. It is a software as a service platform, like many such services. It's in a Salesforce environment. And there is absolutely no authorization for reselling in any way or reusing any of that data. So it is absolutely secured with our access only, and their involvement is solely to support and enhance the system under our direction.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation.
Okay, thanks. Did that address both of your issues, Colleen?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Mr.
great.
Chair, I make a motion to set the agenda and approve consent.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Can I have a second?
Second, Hale.
So that's a second from Giselle Hale. Could we do a roll call, please?
San Mateo County, San Mateo County,
Yes.
thank you. Atherton,
Yes.
Belmont,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Colma, Daly City,
Yes.
East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City,
Yes.
Half Moon Bay,
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Los Banos,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae, Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno, San Bruno. I think he was having some connection issues. San Carlos,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco, Woodside,
Yes.
and the motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, great. The next item on the agenda is the chair's report. The only thing I have to say is my internet is constantly telling me that it's not consistent, so I may be dropping off, but for now I'm good. I don't have anything else to report. And the next item is the CEO report. Rick, your hand is raised. I assume that that was from your motion.
Yes, and I'm lowering it now. Thank you. There we go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see all of you here, and we have a lot of interesting things to go through tonight. So I do want to make a couple comments that we have kept our rates consistently below PG&E. In fact, 5% below PG&E ever since we started in 2016, which has saved our customers over $90 million since we started. No other CCA has provided a consistent discount to PG&E like we have. Other CCAs have had their rates lower than PG&E. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're higher, but we have consistently kept our rates 5% below PG&E and hope to continue to do that. We're financially strong and should be able to maintain that for the foreseeable future. Mr. Pickering noted a book by Meredith Angwin, and that brings a smile to my face because Meredith is a personal friend of mine who has worked in the energy business for a long time. She's retired now, but she used to work at EPRI. She and I may or may not agree on energy policy, but I do respect her work. So that's great that her work is being read. Next slide, please. So staffing updates. We will have a decision soon on the COO position. We've been actively interviewing, and senior staff has been meeting with candidates, as have our chair and vice chair, and we're about ready to make a decision. We now have CFO position posted on the website, so please send candidates our way. And someone has a barking dog in the background. Next slide, please. So last week or earlier this week, you should have received an email from Mark Hirschman regarding AB 1814, This is the bill that CACCA is sponsoring. It's being, the author is Grayson, and this is to allow CCAs to be able to access funds on customers' bills that that customers are now paying on their bills, and that we are asking that CCAs also be able to utilize those funds, and that it's not solely the IOUs that would be able to do that, since our customers are paying as well. So Mark has sent a note out to each city with a sample letter. And thank you to those cities that have already sent in a letter of support. If you haven't yet, please take a look, and we encourage you to do that. We have been holding a lot of meet and greets with the PUC commissioners and the CEC commissioners. On March 11th, we met with PUC Commissioner Darcy Hauk, and thank you to Rick Golia from Atherton and Rod Dasmagbil from Daly City for attending this meeting. That meeting, we focused mostly on our low-income efforts, or her interests are low-income efforts. So we talked about our low-income home upgrade program, our e-bike program, and also on our DEAI effort. On March 18th, we met with California Energy Commissioner McAllister, and we talked about our interest in having the $1 billion that the state is dedicating to decarbonization efforts, to have those funds available for CCAs, as we know our local communities, and we can direct these funds appropriately rather than having a one-size-fits-all approach for the whole state. So they will be holding workshops in April, and will be participating. And they also spoke about reach codes, noting that the state does not have the authority to require all electric construction, because the state cannot prohibit the installation of federally allowed gas-fired equipment. However, you in your local jurisdictions do have the authority to be more specific as to what kind of equipment you would like to have in the housing that's going up in your jurisdictions or your existing housing. On March 21st, we met with CEC Commissioner Patty Monahan. Her focus is electric transportation. She had a lot of interest in our used EV incentive program and our EV fleets program that we're in the process of rolling out. In her opinion, there's a limited role for L1 chargers for all electric, especially as ranges start increasing. She's more prone to support level 2 chargers. And then today we had a meeting with PUC Commissioner, the President, Alice Reynolds, who just took office in this position a couple months ago. And thank you to Marty from San Bruno for attending this meeting with us. And it was great to be able to introduce her to Peninsula Clean Energy and let her know all of the great things that we are doing. Next slide, please. So I wanted to tell you, we had our first all staff in-person get together on last Thursday, March 17th, which I think was about 2 years after we all left the office for supposedly 2 weeks. So after 2 years apart, we got together. Here's the gang. It was really wonderful for all of us to be together and to meet some of our new employees. And we had some fun. We spent time talking about the strategic plan and what each person's input is to that. We also did some team building exercises and some fun exercises. So if we go to the next slide, we were broken into teams and asked to spell out words. So I don't know if any of you want to guess what the word is here from this team consisting of Chelsea, Raphael, David, Matthew, and Leslie. It's solar. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, the next slide, consisting of KJ, Sandra, myself, Shayna, and Jerry. What energy word might this be? It's OHM, OHM. The next slide, I hope I have this one right, because this was actually kind of a movement version that Sarah, Blake, Dave, Philip, and Mark did. Sarah was blowing and Mark was moving. So I believe this was wind power. And if I'm wrong, please one of you tell me, but I think that's what you all were doing. The next slide shows Carlos, Peter Ambiel, Vanessa, Kirsten, and Michael, and they were spelling out. Can anyone tell what they were spelling out?
The what?
Very good. Okay, and then the next group was Peter Levitt, Sally, Masha, Kim, and Greg. What were they spelling? Hydro. And then the last one that I have here is, next slide, please. Nellie, Siobhan, Medi, Jeremy, and Alejandra. What were they spelling?
Power?
Yes. Yay. So anyway, you can tell we had a great time with each other. It was just so energizing to be back together again. And we can't wait to be back together again in the future. We'll probably try to do this quarterly, but it was really wonderful to be together. And you know, so much thanks goes to the staff who has hung in there for the last 2 years. They've been super productive and done great work while we've been under these unusual circumstances. So as you know, we're going to continue with a remote working policy, and we'll be doing some updates to the employee handbook, which will eventually get to you for your approval. But we have a great team and so many smart people, so many capable people, and I really appreciate everything the staff has done for the last couple of years, actually since we even started. So last slide is our upcoming meetings. In April, we have the Executive Committee, the Citizens Advisory Committee, and the Board of Directors meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you might have.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand or wave at me. You can raise your hand under the reactions button at the bottom of your page. I don't see any questions, so we will move on. The next item is the Citizens Advisory Committee report, and I assume Morgan will be providing that.
Actually, Morgan is not here, so I'm substituting for her, Cheryl Schaff.
Okay, great. Great. Cheryl, please.
Thank you. Chair DeGolia and honorable members of the board, I'm just going to share a brief update from our last CAC meeting. We discussed the updated CAC work plan, which we will approve in our next meeting in April and bring it to the executive committee and the board in May. This is due to a few outstanding items that staff had to align on internally before finalizing the work plan for CAC approval. Also, new CAC members will join in June, so this will be a good timing to finalize work groups and invite all current members to sign up. Morgan and I spent some time reviewing the CAC member survey and noticed some concerning comments indicating frustration and disengagement. So in the coming month, we will be discussing and addressing these concerns, and we'll share any resulting plans with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Does anyone have any questions for Cheryl? Okay, I don't see any questions. So let's move on. The next item is the appointment to the Executive Committee of the Audit and Finance Committee. And over the last month, Donna and I have polled the current members of the Executive Committee and the Finance Committee. I had asked if anyone on the board wanted to be appointed to the Executive Committee to let me know. I didn't get any new requests for anyone to join. And all of the current members are interested in continuing. So our proposal to the board, which we need to vote on tonight, is that we reappoint the current members of the executive committee, which includes myself, Donna, Jeff Alps, Dave Pine, Julia Makes, Laura Palmer Lohan, Giselle Hale, Marty Medina, and Rick Benia. And that we reappoint the 5 members of the Audit and Finance Committee, which includes Larry May, Carol Groom, Donna Colson, Carlos Romero, and Jeff Alps. And if I could get a motion to that, to approve that, that would be great. I see
Rick,
your
I just
hand up,
want to
Rick.
note,
Is that a motion?
Rick, I want to note that Carol is no longer on the board. She, Warren Slocum has taken her spot.
Aha, I didn't know that. Okay, well, so we will have 4 members on the slate to be appointed tonight to the Audit and Finance Committee, and there's 1 opening. And if anybody would be interested in joining the Audit and Finance Committee, please contact myself or Donna over this month. So there is going to be an opening then on the Audit and Finance Committee. Rick, I see your hand up.
I amend my motion to approve all except that 1 vacancy.
Right, okay. And can I get a second? I have a second from Tom
Second.
Faria.
Tom Faria, second.
Thank you, Tom.
San Mateo County,
Yes.
San Mateo County, Atherton,
Yes.
Belmont,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Colma, Daly City,
Yes.
East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City. Oh, might have difficulties on the phone. We'll come back. Half Moon Bay,
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Los Banos,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae, Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco, Woodside,
Yes.
and circling back to Foster City. I think you might be on mute. Okay, the motion does pass.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, very good. So the next item on the agenda is item 9. This is the item to approve a resolution delegating authority to the CEO to execute the power purchase and sale agreement for renewable energy with Second Imperial Geothermal Company and various ancillary documents.
Thank you.
And,
I will.
Yeah, Siobhan.
All right, great,
Hi.
thank you. Thank you, Board of Directors. So tonight we're recommending approval of a power purchase agreement for a geothermal project. It'll be a delivery term of 15 years, starting on or about January 1, 2023. As you guys may recall, we've talked about this a couple of times. In the middle of 2021, the California Public Utilities Commission ordered all load-serving entities in California to collectively procure 11,500 megawatts of new resources. Part of this has to come from what they're calling firm clean renewables, and PCE's share is about 19 megawatts. So you can see here, we were allocated our shares based on load. And here we've circled 19 megawatts that have to come online by 2026. Last year, ORMAT also launched a request for bids for the Heber project. We provided a bid in August and we were shortlisted in September. And we've been working with ORMAT to negotiate the terms of this agreement. There's an existing project at this site, and this project will replace that existing project and then increase the capacity. That incremental capacity will count towards our 19 megawatt requirement. I think we've talked about also in the past that geothermal is very limited in California, and this order to procure 1,000 megawatts has created very high demand for geothermal in California. So we think this is a good project for meeting this need of ours. So a little bit more information about the project itself. It's being developed and is owned by ORMAT Technologies. It's located in Imperial County. It has a capacity of 26 megawatts and a capacity factor of 95%. We expect a little over 200,000 megawatt hours in year one, and there'll be a slight degradation over the term of the contract. Its COD is going to be January 1, 2023. It already has its interconnection agreement, it has site control, and it's expecting to start construction by May 2022. This is a very advanced project. So it's a lower risk project from a development perspective. The project owner has committed to payment of prevailing wages for the construction of the project. And since it's located adjacent to an existing project, we're not having an environmental impact on new land. And it's also located in a disadvantaged community. The contract structure is similar to our other project purchase agreements. We pay for the output of the geothermal generator at a fixed price per megawatt hour. There's no escalation. This will occur for 15 years, and we're entitled to all of the product attributes from the facility. Since this is located in Imperial County, it's part of the Imperial Irrigation District Balancing Authority. It's outside of the CAISO. So we'll need to import the power into CAISO to get the resource adequacy. And as a load serving entity, we're allocated some import capacity that we'll use to do that. As we mentioned earlier, they've committed to the payment of prevailing wages for the construction of the project. As part of our review, we do an environmental review. We developed this in 2020 with several environmental nonprofits. We look at where the projects are located. For this project, our analysis showed that's not located in a protected area, and it is located on salt-affected soils. So the land where it's located has little agricultural value. Geothermal is going to be very good for our portfolio. So in addition to having a regulatory requirement, it'll help us meet our 24/7 goal. It's a very flat profile. So this shows each line is a different month of the year. And then each line shows about how many megawatt hours we expect of generation for each hour of the month. And one thing to note is that we get more generation in the winter time and we expect less in the summertime, which is a good complement to our solar portfolio. And then it also has a good fit with our strategic plan. So it's going to help us to meet our 24/7 goal. And it's also going to help us to provide low cost, stable power to our customers and to be 100% renewable by 2025. So just to reiterate, our recommendation is to approve the resolution that delegates authority to the CEO to execute this PPA. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Okay, I've got a question from Pradeep Gupta.
Rick, I do not have a question. I just have a comment to make.
Great, go ahead.
I just wanted to underline the importance of this kind of project for our 24/7 goal. Number one, this project is clean because it's binary geothermal. That means that it's completely enclosed. Whatever comes out of the ground goes back into the ground. There's no emissions at all. Number two, it's 95% or so capacity factor. That means it's available throughout and it's controllable. So it provides the backbone to our uncertain renewables that earlier a comment was made about how those intermittent renewables require a lot more amount than necessary in order to meet that. So this project is one of those backbones that provides the controllability. And number three, I think that this kind of project is the one that will be more and more needed in order for us to meet that 24/7 goal. I just wanted to highlight some of the inputs, and I want to congratulate our staff to come out with this kind of project and have more of these kind of projects in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Pradeep. Are there any other questions or comments that members of the board have? Okay, I don't see any questions or comments at the moment. Let me see if there's public comment, and if there's questions or comments after public comment, we'll take those. Is there any public comment on this matter? Okay, I don't see any public comment. And I don't see anyone's hand up with a question or comment. So can I get a motion to approve?
Don't move.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And can I get a second?
This is Donna. I'll make a second on it.
Second from Donna Colson. Very good. Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
San Mateo County,
Yes.
San Mateo County, Atherton,
Yes.
Belmont,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Colma, Daly City,
Yes.
East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City,
Yes.
Half Moon Bay,
Yes.
Hillsborough.
It's yes, sorry.
Thank you. Los Banos,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae, Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley, Portola Valley, Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco, Woodside.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is, sorry,
I'm not sure who that was speaking.
That was Jeff Alfs.
Oh, Jeff, did you have a comment?
He might have wanted to register his vote.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Okay, so the next item is also an action item. This is the local government solar and storage program.
Thank you, directors. This is Rafael Reyes, Director of Energy Programs. I'm very pleased to present this opportunity to you. Next slide, please. What we are seeking your direction and requesting approval on is the local government solar and storage program, in which we are developing solar installations for local government facilities throughout our service territory. And the request is here for $600,000 for technical assistance and prospective installation capital of up to $8 million to be repaid over 20 years. Next slide. This program is intended to accelerate local renewables deployed at government facilities in the service territory. We are in a pilot phase. This is the initial round that I'll be talking through, and details of what we are envisioning as subsequent rounds. The objectives being first to drive towards PCE's goal of 20 megawatts by 2025. Importantly, to reduce local government energy costs, in particular to insulate against the continued rise in PG&E rates, which are projected to be significant. And then, of course, support local governments in their sustainability goals and develop a program that can continue operating beyond this pilot phase. And as part of that, develop a new service model for Peninsula Clean Energy. Next slide. This program parallels somewhat similar efforts that have been done regionally in recent years. There have been two large aggregate procurements in the service territory. One in Santa Clara County was named the Silicon Valley Renewable Energy Project, which deployed 11 megawatts. And a subsequent project in Alameda County, which deployed 31 megawatts. These were aggregate procurements in which the projects received volume discounts, which are estimated to have been in the 10 to 14% range. And one element of our program is to seek to replicate this kind of volume discount. In addition, Peninsula Clean Energy is also operating in parallel to other peer agencies that are developing their own solar power purchase agreements, and I'll discuss this in detail. But the point being here that we're following both some precedents for this kind of project and the models that we're developing parallels, again, peer agencies who are seeking to do the same. Next slide. Here's some details with regards to the service model. Here, Peninsula Clean Energy is seeking to bring together sites and provide services to all of the local governments by taking care of some of the groundwork associated with these kinds of projects, such as site evaluations, the procurement process, which would be offloaded from local governments, and then manage the installation. As I noted earlier, we would be aggregating sites intended to bring better pricing. We're also managing all of the screening and selection and contracting of installers for the projects. And we would in turn then deliver power purchase agreements to the local governments at a price that is lower than the utility rates that these facilities currently have today. And the intention is to provide these services at no cost, or I should say at no added margin. We would just be looking to cover PC's direct costs in the program. Next slide, please. There's been quite a bit of work already done to move forward on these projects. So 21 site assessments. This is detailed work working with an reputable engineering firm called McAlmont Engineering. And through that work, have developed site plans, which are detailed designs, as well as analysis of the yield for each of the sites, engineering diagrams, so single line electrical diagrams and the like. The intention being to put together design information that's at a high grade to enable the bidders to have a very concrete view of the projects and have confidence in the pricing that they are putting forward, and reducing the amount of work for those installers, and through doing that, obtain better pricing. We are working through agency commitments, but many of you already have had us present at your respective city councils, and I'll speak through that here in the next slide. Next slide. So we have a portfolio at this time of approximately 2 megawatts across all of these facilities. We do have a couple that are pending, Los Banos and San Bruno, and we're hopeful to get approval to these additional projects. And with this set of projects would then bring this portfolio out through an RFP and a competitive process to prospective installers to secure specific pricing. Next slide. We are seeing, based on our analysis, substantial economic value for the cities in excess of $4.5 million across all of the sites. The specific savings do vary quite a bit depending on the size of the site and type and so forth. Some sites have elected to explore battery systems. All the sites are also battery ready. The economics of the batteries are the least clear in the project. We will be securing pricing on that, and then based on that pricing, we'll expect to have dialogue with the sites that are looking at batteries. And our timing is good. We are anticipating that the state will at some point update the net energy metering rules, which govern the payback value of these kinds of systems. And the next iteration is expected to be less advantageous than the current rules under which these solar systems are operating. And then lastly, as I noted, we are seeking to help local governments avoid future PG&E rate increases. And PG&E has submitted to secure quite substantial rate increases on the order of 18% starting 2023. These are not approved, but they have requested these rate increases. Next slide. Now, as I noted, this is part of an overall program plan. It is collectively a major component of the 20 megawatt target. And we are seeing the opportunity here to ultimately step into a regular series of rounds for further installation beyond this initial pilot phase. We are considering moving beyond just the county and cities to other local governments, so schools, special districts, and the like. And there is the possibility in the future of perhaps even moving beyond these segments. And I want to note here that we did get a recommendation out of the executive committee to explore nonprofits, the inclusion of nonprofits in this, and that's something that we will be looking at soon. Next slide. We are still working through some important details on exactly how this will work. There are two major questions with regards to the specifics around the business model for this program. The first is the capital for the installations. There are basically two pathways for Peninsula Clean Energy to pursue. The first is to secure conventional financing through the RFP process. That financing would naturally come with an interest rate, associated with that those funds. And alternatively, PCE capital could be used. Our expectation is that the overall costs would be lower with PCE capital, and that is part of our request to have that as an option. I'll come back to that in a moment. The second major component is in relation to the tax credits and also depreciation. This is a very important part of the economics of these kinds of projects, which can reduce the overall costs by approximately 1/3. However, securing those tax credits does require tax liability, which Peninsula Clean Energy as a government agency does not have. And as a consequence, we are in dialogue with a number of prospective tax equity partners who would be able to facilitate capturing at least a portion, a significant portion of those tax benefits. And this element is a pretty conventional element with regards to power purchase agreements overall. What's unusual is Peninsula Clean Energy being a part of that and facilitating those tax credits directly. So that leads us to basically two pathways in terms of how the financial model would work. The first being that the tax credits and finance could be secured together in a relatively conventional power purchase agreement, what we're describing as kind of an all-in finance and tax credit package. Or secondly, Peninsula Clean Energy provides the capital and develops the partnerships to secure the tax credits, and then contracts with installers only for the equipment and installation, and of course, ultimately the maintenance as well. In this second scenario, the PCE capital is treated as a balance sheet asset, which cities would pay back over time as part of the power purchase agreements that they would have with us. Of course, those power purchase agreements, again, are intended to lower the overall costs for this, the energy costs at these facilities. Next slide. So from the standpoint of the pilot, we are in the closing initial stages, if you will. So finalizing the site assessments. We are completing legal review of the documents, and we'll be sharing those, the relevant documents, to cities soon. We would then move, assuming approval by the board, to execute an RFP for the desired installation services and optionally finance components, evaluate the proposals, of course, brief all the participating local governments on the final terms, including the financial terms and other aspects. And this would be the last off-ramp, if you will, for local governments with regards to their participation. And then subsequent to that, move forward with contracts and installations. Next slide. Round two, we are already starting to outline what this could look like. We are envisioning larger aggregation, more in keeping with the two large aggregated purchases that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, broader eligibility, public agencies. And again, I want to note, we will be exploring nonprofits as a possibility, and with the intention of beginning outreach to prospective participants this year upon finalization of the business model for the overall program. As part of this second round, we are envisioning, again, the need for technical assistance, and part of the request here is for $600,000 for this technical assistance. Next slide. In conclusion, again, we are looking for approval of two elements. One is the $600,000 in technical assistance for round two, and $8 million in prospective capital for the installations, which would be a balance sheet item to be paid over 20 years by participating agencies. And the details on whether or not we pursue this will depend on the economics that we see through the RFP process. And with that, turn it back over to the chair for further discussion and possible motion.
Great, thank you, Raphael. Rick has dropped off, so I'm going to take this over from here. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and open this up for questions from colleagues to staff. Let me see if we've got anybody. I see one hand, Jeff Alps, please.
Thank you. First of all, apologies. Our power dropped off about an hour during public comments, and I was on my phone for a good hour there. And then what you heard was me trying to get back on when the power went back on. So I apologize for the disruption during the last vote, which I would have voted yes for. My question is, given the intermittency of power in the area, are any of these installations going to also be microgrids or perhaps islandable microgrids, or is that something that's being explored along with the solar plus storage?
Yes, so the sites that have elected to explore storage, and maybe Shana, you can switch back to the table. Those sites, if they do move forward with storage, would be islandable. So you'll note we have 4 sites, Brisbane, Colma, Pacifica, and Redwood City, that have requested consideration for storage systems. Many of these sites already have diesel generators. The economics in comparison to diesel generators is not favorable to batteries right now by a substantial margin. So that's why we, in discussions with the cities, not elected to pursue them in most cases. There's a lot of uncertainty about the costs here and exactly how big the batteries need to be and critical loads and so forth. And so our approach is to secure pricing and then at that point enter into dialogue with those agencies. And then if a determination is made to move forward, size the systems appropriately. And then yes, in that case, they would be islandable in the case of power outages.
Okay, because I can't remember if we talked about this specific proposal. I mean, is it too late to add Portola Valley to the consideration for this pilot program, or should we think about round 2?
At this point, we're quite close to moving forward. Our preference would be to bring additional sites in round 2.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you very much. Carlos Romero, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Rafael, can you explain then how, on the financing side, can you explain how this first set of this 2 million watts of solar would be financed? Are you saying that we will be putting in some money as equity, but that the various cities that are listed here or legal or jurisdictions would be paying for part of it also? And then you also mentioned the tax credit piece, which I think is going to involve probably some LLCs and a syndication of those credits, which I'm not quite sure how strong that market is. And perhaps our esteemed chair, who also deals in capital markets, might know this information, but I'm just trying to understand the financing side of this.
Sure. And Shana, maybe we can go back to the diagram with the triangles. And yes, thank you. So let me first speak to the question of ownership and then how that relates to the tax credits and financing. So in a power purchase agreement, ownership goes to the entity holding the power purchase agreement. In other words, initially, PCE will be the owners of the systems themselves, and the facilities will then be buying the power off of those solar panels, solar installations. And this is standard practice to enable securing those tax credits. Now, Peninsula Clean Energy would enter, if we secure the tax credits through a partnership that we establish, then we would be entering into a partnership with a third party that has tax appetite. And there are a couple different arrangements under which this can be done, and we're in detail now in discussions with several prospective third parties. And in any case, yes.
Sorry, could I ask you just how stable and established and mature is that equity market, which I think will make a difference in pricing,
Sure.
Which we, if the market is really young, you're not going to get great pricing. So how established is that market?
Well, from the standpoint of the solar industry, this is a very mature market. So now the specific arrangement that we're pursuing is a little different in our role in it, but the process by which these sorts of tax credits are secured is a quite mature market, because the majority of commercial and solar installations are done this way. So we do expect good pricing from the standpoint of the tax credits that we would be securing, and that the partners that we are in discussions with do suggest that that would be true.
So just, I'm just trying to gauge the financial risk on this. I mean, given that you're basically selling these tax credits to entities that have taxable income that want to defer that income, you're saying that you all feel fairly, and your finance, I assume you have financial consultants, feel fairly confident that you can gauge today where those equity purchase agreements are going to be, correct? I mean, it's not, you got a collar and a cap, and it's a pretty narrow one, so that PCE is not on the risk. I mean, let's say they're paying 35 cents on the dollar, right? I mean, I don't know the time, so I can't calculate it in my head here, but let's say they're doing 35 cents on the dollar. But if there's a massive fluctuation where they go from 35 to 18 cents, we wind up, I think, as PCE, then putting in more capital. I just want to make sure that you guys all feel confident enough. It's a mature enough market. You can more or less peg a number that limits our exposure.
Well, and
Jen
may wish to comment here.
Yeah. Yeah, Carlos, we're still in discussions with potential partners for this. And we haven't gotten into that kind of detail yet as to exactly what the tax credits would be worth. But as we get closer, we can certainly bring you in and bring the Audit and Finance Committee, or a segment of the Audit and Finance Committee, together to go over what the structure is going to look like, so that you feel comfortable with it. So we're talking to a lot of different, a few different providers of tax equity and things like that. So we're not quite there yet to be able to answer the question that you're asking. But as
thank you,
as
and
Raphael
I
noted,
think I'm done with my question. Sorry for going down that kind of arcane financial rabbit hole.
That's very important.
I think
that's okay. We want to know what your questions are, so we make sure that we address them.
That's great. Thanks, Jan. And I'm going to get to Director Medina in one moment, but I might even add on there, is there any sort of a secondary market for us to, you know, are there investors who would want to take that stream of income off of the solar panels and take us out of the some of that 8 million, or recapitalize that so we could recover that and recycle it through the program quicker? I just don't know if there's a secondary market, but maybe that could be part of that report as well.
Okay, we can take a look at that, Donna. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then Director Medina.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank staff for moving in this direction and provide my support for something like this. It's something that San Bruno definitely is interested in pursuing. We don't have the expertise, and we want to be able to reach out to someone we can trust. And I think this is a great opportunity for Peninsula Clean Energy to be that entity, that we provide the cleanest energy at the best prices, and we run programs that the public can trust in. So I fully support this.
Thank you very much, Director Medina. Does anyone else have any questions? I don't see any other hands raised. Okay, if no other hands are raised, I would like to open this up for any comments or questions from the public. Give it a minute or two. Okay, we have Diane's iPhone.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment. I'm delighted to see this project, but a little surprised that I don't think that it went to the CAC. And being a Citizens Advisory Committee member, I would have loved to comment on the value of batteries for resilience. I wish that there was a second chance to look at adding batteries to some of these, especially to the community centers. It's wonderful to see Los Baños included. I see a large proposed installation on the community center there. And that would really provide a valuable emergency shelter if there was a battery included. And just wanted to also add that in Menlo Park, there was a recent investment by the city for a battery solar microgrid on the new community center being built in Belhaven. And that microgrid will be saving the city $5 million. It's an initial investment of $5 million. Over time, the installation will recoup all of the initial investment to the city and then save an additional $5 million over the life of the project. I understand that these projects are not cookie cutter, each is different, but I do wish that there could be more consideration for adding batteries and having islandable microgrids to provide emergency shelter. I know that it's hard to monetize the value of that resilience, but it does provide a value to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Diane, is there anyone else from the public who would like to comment? I have Jeremy.
Great. Hello, board. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. So I would first like to ask, probably not the best format to ask, but if the financing agreement for the recently approved 100 megawatt solar farm is publicly available, whether that was all of PCE's capital or it was first tax credits.
So
thank
is
you,
that, may I ask you, I think that's going back to item number 9. Is that correct? And we've closed that item out? Is that item number 9, Jeremy? Is that what you're referring to?
Sure. Yeah.
So I will defer to our legal counsel. I think we've moved on to item number 10. So we've closed public comment. I think we could take public comment at our next meeting on this under general public comment, but I'm not sure we can reopen number 9. Is that correct?
That's correct, Anna.
Okay, great. Jeremy, I am so sorry to do this, but
no worries.
you could send in an email to our staff. They're always willing to hear from the public. So I would strongly suggest maybe you write to them, or if you want to, you could come to our next meeting and make that public comment at the very beginning. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Is there any other public comment on item number 10, the approval of local government solar and storage program? Okay, seeing no other public comment, if anyone has I'll take it back to the board of directors, either for a motion to approve or any additional comments. Looking for someone who might want to make a motion to approve.
Move to approve. Great.
Thank you
Second,
very
Medina.
much, Julia. Second from Marty Medina, Director Medina. Thank you very much, Director Mates and Director Medina. Nellie, may we please have a roll call vote?
San Mateo County,
Yes.
San Mateo County, Atherton, Belmont,
Yes.
Brisbane, sorry about that. Burlingame,
Yes.
Colma, City,
Yes.
East Palo Alto,
Yes.
Foster City, Foster City,
Yes.
thank you. Half Moon Bay,
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Los Banos,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae, Pacifica,
Yes.
Portola Valley,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
South San Francisco, and Woodside. And the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nellie. With that, we'll move on to item 11, which is an update on the results of the 2021 RFO for renewable energy and storage. This is a discussion, non-action item.
And tonight we're going to have Mehdi Shariari make the presentation on this item. He's part of Siobhan's group in the Power Resources team.
Thank you, Mehdi. It's a pleasure to have you present to the Board of Directors. Your floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mehdi Shariari. I'm a senior energy analyst in the Power Resources team. And today I'm going to present a short summary of the offers that we received in the 2021 Renewable Energy and Storage RFO. We issued this RFO back in November of 2021, basically asking for proposal to purchase renewable energy contracts to help PCE fulfill its energy goals, specifically considering our 24/7 goal. We received all the offers in January of 22, and we spent a few weeks to evaluate and analyze all the offers. We sent out shortlist notification at the end of February, and right now we are starting negotiation process with the goal of bringing contracts to the board either later in the spring or in the summer. Next slide, please. So here there is a very general summary. There were 34 counterparties or companies that participated in the RFO with a total number of 70 projects submitted in the RFO, basically meaning like some participant submitted multiple projects. And there were around 106 offer variants. So basically means like from these 70 projects, some of the projects have different options, and these differences could be either in terms of like contract length, capacities, or different commercial online date. And the earliest commercial online date was September of 22, and the latest was January 2026. And out of these 70 projects submitted in the RFO, 65 of them were in California, and 5 of them were outside California. Next slide, please. Here we look at a number of the projects by type of the resource. So there were 5 firm renewable projects submitted in the RFO. These are shown by the brown circles on this map. So firm renewable are usually like the ones that their generation can be predicted with high accuracy. And these are like geothermal and biomass. You can see 3 of them were in state, 2 of them were out of state. Variable renewable, there were only 4 projects. These are basically renewable resources such as wind and solar that are weather dependent, and they are considered non-dispatchable. These are shown by the green circles in this map, and 3 of them were in state, and 1 of them was in the state of New Mexico. We received 23 renewable plus storage projects. 22 of them were solar plus storage. 1 was wind plus storage. And you can see these shown by the orange diamond in this map. And the majority of them were in state of California, only 2 of them out of state. And finally, there were 74 standalone storage projects, basically offer variants submitted in the RFO. And these are shown by the black diamond, and they're all in the state of California. And next slide, please. And here we take a look at the capacities of all these projects. So combined together, it was 56 megawatt of geothermal submitted in the RFO, 57 megawatt for biomass, and all of the wind projects combined were 190 megawatt, 4 megawatt of small hydro, and in total we received 22 solar plus storage projects. And in terms of capacity, there was 1,000 megawatt for solar and 625 megawatt of storage. These are like hybrid solar plus storage projects. In terms of standalone storage projects, it was around 3,800 megawatt of standalone storage projects submitted in the RFO. and the majority of these, more than 3/4, were lithium-ion batteries, and there are around 800 megawatts were non-lithium ion. And from these, again, more than 3/4 were 4-hour storage, and the others are longer duration, either 6-hour or 8 hours. Next slide, please. And finally, in terms of looking at the PPA price for these projects, for wind projects, we didn't see significant differences when we compare these prices to the RFO that we ran back in 2020, but we also had a small sample size as well. For geothermal projects, we increased a 20% increase in the PPA price, and this is mainly driven by higher demand for geothermal projects due to the midterm reliability requirements. And for solar plus storage projects, and we also see an increase compared to a 2020 RFO, and the PPA energy price for the solar portion is showed an increase of 10%, while the storage capacity price was around like 35% higher than the last RFO. This is just a brief summary. A lot of the information about the RFO cannot be shared public, so we will be happy to discuss those with the board subcommittee. But please let me know if you have any questions about this information provided here.
Thank you, Mehdi. Very nice presentation. Board of Directors, I see Director Alves has his hand up. Jeff?
Thank you. My question, in this RFO, are these PPAs still being treated as energy only? Are we still assuming that all of the energy that these projects generate will not be curtailed?
So when we look at these, our analysis look at very different factors. So for example, we look at the individual projects. So for example, what is the economic evaluation for the project based on the PPA price, based on our forecasted nodal prices for the specific project. We also look at these projects within our portfolio, specifically considering our 24/7 goal, and basically how much storage we need to move energy to hours that we don't have enough energy in those hours, but also the prices that we have, or considering how market is going to change in the future. So basically considering that there are more solar coming online, so we will see a lower prices during middle of the day.
Right. I guess what I'm asking is, do you think the developers are, one of the public comments made the point that I agree with, and I've been sort of saying for a while, is that the intermittent renewable grid will be massively overbuilt to be reliable, or I think will have to be overbuilt. Is the market responding to that in a way? Do you think that the developers are sort of responding to that and thinking about what it will look like when at some point they're generating more than we need?
That's something that we consider in our own analysis. Basically,
right.
For example, looking at our load versus our generation, how much excess generation we get. Mm-hmm. And that's but in terms of for example, if this is going to create more congestion on the grid when you put more solar during solar hours, part of that is going to be captured as part of the prices that we look at for the future years.
Sure. Yeah. I also just want to make the point that the capacity that we're seeing bid into the market or responding to this thing, that these numbers are huge. I was just looking at a graph today of sort of the rate of growth of this field worldwide, and we're still very much in the logarithmic growth phase. So this is, it's fascinating to see the results of this. So thank you for putting this together. That's my comments.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Director Sullivan?
Yeah, maybe I'll thank you very much for your presentation. And I've got a question on this this slide. You said the average price for wind project has not changed significantly. Is that due to not the high demand for usage of wind energy? What's that attributed to?
There are I think several reasons. One of them is some of these projects that we receive are existing projects. So basically, they don't have any issue, for example, like supply chain issues that some other projects, or for example, increase in cost that other projects are facing. And some part of that is also like we have a very small sample size for wind projects. We have around like 4 projects right now. We had like 3 or 4 projects in the previous RFO. So we don't have like a very large sample size to have a meaningful comparison between like the wind projects.
Okay, so what you're really saying is there's not that many new wind generating projects out there to give a more fair analysis that say it was important.
Yeah, exactly. Like especially in California, like the opportunities for building new wind projects is pretty limited.
Okay, and then I had 2 more questions. When you look at the geothermal projects increased by 20% due to the midterm reliability requirements, is that pretty much in correlation due to the inflation of the cost of things?
Some part of that is due to inflation. That's like something we have noticed, for example, for storage projects. But for geothermals, a big part is because of these MTR requirements. There is like high demand for new geothermal projects that has increased like their prices in the last year or so after CPUC issuing the MTR requirements.
And with that said, couldn't that become a more resourceful form of energy, even in comparison to solar storage, if developed? Because it seems that the rapid cost for solar storage in this economy is really rather rapidly increasing, which is going to narrow the profitability or the energy efficiency of solar. Is there some other new development out there for storage of solar energy that is going to be revolutionary to help bring that cost down? Because that's a staggering cost for storage.
Yeah, that's like something we have seen in the like recent RFO, that prices for storage, whether it's like solar plus storage projects or just standalone storage projects, has increased recently due to, for example, like the inflation. Lithium prices has been like increased a lot in the last few months as well. But when we look at all of these projects, for example, you said like geothermal, we consider them as part of our whole portfolio, meeting our 24/7 goal, basically understanding which resources are better for us. And part of our evaluation is also using the price forecast for future years. And based on like when we get these price forecasts, what is the expectation of price shapes going forward based on like how much more solar or wind or geothermal is added to the grid. And basically like that would change the value that we get from like either geothermal or solar plus storage projects.
So am I fair to make an evaluation if we look at the geothermal and we look at the solar, that it could be more cost effective to balance doing more geothermal as well as the solar?
Yes, that's correct. Especially like considering there will be more curtailments of like solar going forward. We will lose that like revenue we will get from selling the energy. The storage project will help a bit for moving the energy into the peak hours, but again, that's like limited.
Okay, I appreciate the explanation and the comparison. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Director Rohrback, please.
Thank you, Mary. I was really surprised to see the storage increase in the last 2 years because we've been hearing that storage is the technology is becoming cheaper. I guess I'm wrong. Can you explain, you've started to, why storage has gone up, and do you anticipate any changes in the future that we should be aware of?
So basically, like we also noticed like storage prices were going down, but I think with 2020 and like COVID happening, you know, like the supply chain issues, have increased like prices for some, like, for example, for lithium, that has increased the pricing for lithium ion. There's like, for example, these like all supply chain issues, and you have seen like all the increase in inflation that has increased the cost of storage. And this is something that we have seen from a lot of developers, that increasing their price compared like to what we have seen, for example, last year. Even like in the last few months, like prices have increased, not just like compared to 2020, for example.
So it's conceivable that that'll be a temporary increase and that storage won't be 35% higher than it had. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's like something we think might happen, that this might be like a temporary issue, you know, like connected to the supply chain issue we have seen like the last year or so. And so probably going into the future, we might see like prices going down again.
Let's hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harvey. And then I have ex officio member John Keener, please.
Thank you, Chair Colson.
Or Director Emeritus, I guess.
Betty, can you comment on the non-lithium ion storage offers? What technology are they using, and what is the length of the storage?
So we had, I think, like 4 or 5 like projects. Like they were like compressed air, flow battery. We had one, I think, thermal storage as well, the RFO. These were the non-lithium ion. And the longest duration that we had for these was 8 hours.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. With that, I don't think I see any other questions. I will open this up to, since it's a discussion, it's not an action item, but I think it's fair to open this up to the public in case the public has any comments they'd like to share with the Board of Directors. Okay, I don't see anyone raising their hand. Oh, I do see a hand, Jeremy. Jeremy, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
Thank you so much. Hello, board. So is the board anticipating any power purchase agreements in the area of offshore wind? I know that a recently passed assembly bill is looking at the feasibility of developing this new technology. There are 2 call sites currently being auctioned later this summer. You know, I think there actually could be more offshore wind call sites. For some reason, we have the entire coast off of San Mateo prevented from any development because it's a marine sanctuary. And of course, I love the marine life. However, it's currently undergoing a mass extinction event as we speak. And so I think we kind of have to balance the carbon emissions that we are emitting right now with definitely giving the sea life a place to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. All right. I don't see any other comments from the public. So unless staff has anything else to add, Jan or anybody, I'm gonna go ahead and close this item. And we will move on to board member reports. So do any of the board members have anything they want to share? Any conferences they attended or any information they want to pass along? I see Jeff Alfs, please.
Thanks. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I attended the Power Conference at Berkeley. The Haas Institute of Energy puts on every year, and it was live again for the first time in 3 years. As always, a very interesting discussion. I will share a link to it, and there were about 8 papers. I'm trying to think if there were any interesting take-home points. I think a lot of it was a little more academic than I can't think of anything that was sort of a short-term implication for us, but several some interesting discussions about, for example, how you promote new technologies. I actually asked some questions about heat pump water heaters. Very interesting talks. So I'll share a link to that in the information there.
Great, that would be wonderful. Does anyone else have anything? All right. Oh, Harvey, please.
The CPUC is meeting April 7th for a voting meeting. Are we going to have any presence there to oppose NEM 3?
Good question. Thank you, Jan.
I don't know that, do you know, Harvey, that NEM 3 is going to be on the agenda there? My understanding was that the PUC was going to come back with a revised proposed decision that I don't believe we have seen yet. So I don't think that there will be a vote on that at that meeting. But if Jeremy or is Jeremy here, or?
Yeah, I'm here, Jan.
Are you aware if that's coming to the PUC on April 7th? I wasn't aware that it's coming that quickly.
No, I'm not aware of that either. My understanding is that the commission has postponed indefinitely the resolution of that case, and we are certainly anticipating some substantial changes from the commission when they do reopen that item. But at this point, we really have no indication of when they will be taking that up again.
Yeah, we'll keep the board apprised as the new, if and when a new proposal comes forth. So all is good for now, Harvey.
Great. Somebody ought to tell the Sierra Club. That's where I got this information that they would be considering it. So
okay.
I'm glad it's been postponed.
Good to know. Okay.
Great. That's great. Okay. If there are no other reports, then there are a number of excellent staff reports that update everybody. You can read at your own leisure to get caught up. And Rick's going to be jealous because we're going to close this meeting about 15 minutes early. So with that, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you all in the next month.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.